to Danny McGrain. Oh, that's a goal!
We totally enjoyed the whole experience of making this record. The fact that I'm from Glasgow obviously helps, and I think it's a very good record.
At the time it was very nerve-wracking. I just remember we used to train here at Celtic Park. And our warm-up used to be 4 laps of this park, and I was at the back of the troop. I'd be 17, Kenny would be 16 or...
This is the tragic life of Danny McGrain. March 2002. A car sits on the side of a Glasgow road. Inside, a man slumps over the wheel. His eyes are closed. His body is still. Police officers walk up to the car. They think he might be drunk, but something is wrong, very wrong. The man is dying. His name is Danny McGrain. He was once one of the best football players in the world, but now his body has turned against him again. The police act fast. They give him a sugary sweet. Slowly, he wakes up. His blood sugar had dropped so low that his brain started to shut down. A few more minutes and he would have been gone forever. But that was not the first time his body betrayed him. Danny McGrain was born in Glasgow in 1950. As a boy, he loved Rangers. They were one of the 2 big teams in the city. He dreamed of playing for them one day. But Rangers had a rule. They would not sign Catholic players. They also would not sign players they thought were not pure enough. Danny went to try out for Rangers, but the coaches said no. They did not want him. The reason was not his skill. It was about who he was, about his background, about things he could not change. It was cruel. It was unfair. But it opened a door to Celtic, Rangers' biggest rival. Celtic signed Danny in May 1967. He was just 17 years old. The manager, Jock Stein, saw something special in him. Stein himself was a Protestant managing a Catholic club. He did not care about religion. He cared about talent. Danny joined a group called the Quality Street Gang. This was Celtic's reserve team. It had future stars like Kenny Dalglish and Lou Macari. These young players had a huge job. They had to replace the Lisbon Lions, the team that won the European Cup in 1967. That team was the greatest in Celtic's history. The pressure was massive. Danny started as a midfielder. Then the coaches moved him to right back. He was fast. He was strong. He could attack and defend. Before he made the first team, Celtic sent Danny to play for a junior club called Maryhill. This was a rough place. Junior football in Scotland was brutal. It was a test. If you could survive there, you could survive anywhere. Danny also tried to study engineering at college, but the course failed. He could not focus on both. Football demanded everything. So Danny gave up on engineering. He put all his hopes into the game. By 1970, Danny was playing for the first team. His career was taking off, but there was something unusual about his story. Danny was a Protestant. Celtic was a Catholic club. The city of Glasgow was divided by religion. Rangers took Protestants. Celtic took Catholics. That was the rule. But Danny broke the rule. He was a Protestant boy who Rangers rejected. Now he was playing for their greatest rivals. The irony was bitter. The club he loved as a boy did not want him. Yet here he was, wearing the green and white. Then came the first collapse, March 25th, 1972. Danny travelled to Brockville Park to play against Falkirk. The ground was small and rough. It was known as a place where players got hurt. During the game, Danny went up for a header. He crashed into a Falkirk player named Doug Somner. Their heads smashed together. The sound was horrible. Danny's skull cracked open, but in those days, players did not come off for head injuries. They were told to be tough, to play through the pain. Danny tried to keep going. The match finished. Celtic won, but Danny's head was broken. After the game, doctors checked him. The news was terrible. Danny had fractured his skull. This was a life-threatening injury. He went to the hospital right away. The timing was the worst. Celtic were about to play in the European Cup semi-final against Inter Milan. Danny had worked so hard to reach this moment. Now he would miss it. He would miss the rest of the season too. Writers at the time said Danny's injury cast a shadow over the win. One reporter wrote that it was a harsh misfortune for a player who had been waiting for his chance. Danny was out for 5 months. 5 long months of sitting at home while his teammates played. 5 months of wondering if he would ever be the same. Those months were dark. Danny could not train. He could not run. He He could hear the cheers from Celtic Park on match days, but he was not there. He was forgotten. In football, if you are not playing, you do not exist. Other players take your place. Fans stop chanting your name. Danny feared being replaced. He feared that when he came back, there would be no space for him. But Danny came back. He returned for pre-season matches. He still went up for headers. He still put his head where it could get hurt. People said this showed his determination, his courage, his refusal to give in. But the damage was done, and worse was coming. 2 years later, Danny was picked for Scotland's World Cup squad. The tournament was in West Germany in 1974. This should have been the best time of his life. He was 24 years old and playing at the biggest tournament in football, but something was wrong inside his body. Very wrong. Danny felt tired all the time. He was thirsty. So thirsty. During the first match against Zaire, the half-time whistle blew. The manager gave his team talk, but Danny was not listening. He was on the floor, lying under a tap. He was drinking water from the tap used to wash boots. He could not stop drinking. In the second match, Scotland played Brazil, the world champions. Danny marked the Brazilian attackers. He ran and tackled and blocked. He played well, but inside, his body was eating itself. By the time Scotland flew home, Danny had lost 2 stone, that is 28 pounds, in 3 games. His body had burned away his muscle and fat. He looked thin and ill. Back in Scotland, doctors tested him. The news changed everything. Danny had type 1 diabetes. His pancreas had stopped making insulin. Without insulin, his body could not use sugar for energy. It was like a car running out of fuel while the tank was still full. In 1974, diabetes was seen as a career ender for athletes. The treatment was hard. Danny had to inject insulin 3 times a day, every day, for the rest of his life. Danny was scared of needles. He hated them. He still hates them today. But he had no choice. Inject or die. The doctors tried to cheer him up. They told him about mountain climbers and golfers who had diabetes. But Danny was a footballer. Football is different. It requires constant running, constant energy. If his blood sugar dropped too low, he could collapse. If it went too high, he could not perform. The doctor who told Danny was named John Fitzsimmons. He sat Danny down and explained the diagnosis. Danny listened, but did not really understand. How could his body turn against him like this? His pancreas had simply stopped working for no reason. It just quit. Danny called it a journey into the unknown. Every day was a guess. Every meal was a calculation. Every training session was a risk. He had to inject himself 3 times a day. The needles were thick. They were made of glass, not plastic like today. They hurt every single time. Danny had to become a scientist of his own body. He had to time his meals perfectly. He had to test his urine to guess his blood sugar. The tests were not accurate. They showed what happened hours ago, not what was happening now. While his teammates went out for drinks, Danny stayed in. While they ate what they wanted, Danny counted carbs. While they relaxed, Danny worried. Every single day, he joked later that diabetes stopped him from scoring goals. He said he saved his energy for defending, but the truth was darker. He was always tired, always calculating, always one mistake away from disaster. But he played on for 13 more years. People did not know how much he was suffering. They just saw him play, week after week, month after month, never complaining. Then came the 3rd collapse. By 1977, Danny was at his peak. He won the Scottish Football Writers' Player of the Year award. Celtic won the league and cup double. Kenny Dalglish left for Liverpool and Danny became captain. He was the leader of the club. Then his foot started to hurt. It was October 1977. Danny felt pain in his ankle, or maybe his foot. The doctors were not sure. They took x-rays but saw nothing. In those days, they did not have MRI machines. They could not see inside soft tissue. They could only guess. The pain got worse. Danny could not play. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into more than a year. 18 months in total. The doctors called it a mystery injury because they did not know what it was. Without a name for the injury, there was no treatment plan. Without a treatment plan, there was no end date. Danny was stuck. He could not train. He could not play. He could only wait. The mystery was torture. With the skull fracture, Danny knew what was broken. He could see it on the x-ray. With diabetes, he knew what was wrong. The doctors could test his blood. But with this foot injury, there was nothing. No test, no scan, no answer, just pain. Danny went to different doctors. They all said different things. One said it was a ligament. Another said it was a bone. A third said it might be in his head. That made Danny angry. The pain was real. He was not making it up. But without proof, people started to doubt him. The waiting destroyed him mentally. Every morning he woke up hoping the pain would be gone. gone. Every morning it was still there. Weeks became months. Months became a year. Danny watched his teammates train. He watched them play. He watched them win. And he sat on the sidelines. Useless. The timing was cruel. Scotland went to the 1978 World Cup in Argentina. The country was excited. The manager, Ali McLeod, promised great things. But Scotland's best defender was sitting at home, injured by something no one could see or understand. When Danny finally came back in spring 1979, he was different. The injury had taken his speed. He could not run as fast. He could not attack as much. The explosive runs that terrified defenders were gone. People noticed. Fans noticed. They remembered the old Danny, the one who flew down the right side, the one who could attack and defend at the same time. That Danny was gone. In his place was someone slower, someone older than his years. He had to change his game. He played smarter, not faster. He read the game better. He used his brain instead of his legs. It worked. Celtic won the league in 1979 with a famous match where 10 men beat Rangers. Danny was captain. The match was called 10 Men Won the League. Celtic played with only 10 players for most of the game, but they still beat Rangers. It was one of the greatest moments in the club's history. Danny lifted the trophy. He smiled for the cameras, but inside he knew the truth. He was not the player he used to be, but everyone knew he was not the same player. The mystery injury had stolen something from him, something he could never get back. Danny played until 1987. He made 659 appearances for Celtic. He won 7 league titles and 5 Scottish Cups. He played 62 times for Scotland. These are incredible numbers, but imagine what they could have been. Imagine if he had not fractured his skull in 1972. Would he have won the European Cup that year? Imagine if he had not played the 1974 World Cup with undiagnosed diabetes. Would Scotland have done better? Imagine if the mystery injury had not stolen 18 months of his prime. Would he have captained Scotland at the 1978 World Cup? These are the questions that hang over Danny's career. What if? What could have been? What was lost? Danny retired in 1987. He wrote a book called In Sunshine or in Shadow. The title says everything. His career was both. Sunshine when he played, shadow when his body broke down. But the story does not end there. March 2002. 20 years after retirement, Danny was driving in Glasgow. He started to feel strange. His hands were shaking. His vision blurred. His blood sugar was dropping fast. He pulled the car over. Thank God he pulled over. If he had kept driving, he could have crashed. He could have killed someone, a child crossing the road, a mother pushing a pram, anyone. Danny slumped over the wheel. His brain shut down. He entered a hypoglycemic coma. This is what happens when blood sugar drops so low that the brain cannot function. Police found him. They thought he might be drunk, but they checked closer. They realised it was medical. They gave him sugar. He woke up. Danny survived. But he was haunted by what could have happened. He said later that he feared he could have killed someone. That fear stayed with him. After that day, Danny became an advocate. He campaigned for new diabetes technology. He pushed for flash glucose monitoring on the NHS. This technology lets diabetics scan a sensor to check their blood sugar instantly. No more guessing, no more waiting. It saves lives. Danny turned his near death into purpose. He wanted other diabetics to have what he never had: real-time data, real safety. But the tragic story does not end there either. In 2004, a footballer named Danny McGrain died. He was a captain at Clyde FC. He died suddenly from a brain hemorrhage. He was 51 years old, but many people thought it was the Celtic Danny McGrain. The news confused people. Fans thought their hero was dead. Messages poured in. Tributes were written. Then the truth came out. It was a different Danny McGrain. This confusion added another layer to the tragic image. Even the story of Danny's life got mixed up with death, and there was more grief. Danny's close friend and teammate Johnny Doyle died in 1981. He was electrocuted in a tragic accident. He was only 30 years old. Danny stayed close to Johnny's family. He shared memories with Johnny's daughter, who never got to hear her father's voice. There are no recordings. Danny also lost a close friend who was a cyclist. The friend died in a road accident. It hurt Danny deeply. So many losses, so much pain, so much taken away. Danny McGrain is 75 years old now. He survived a fractured skull. He played for 13 years with diabetes. He overcame a mystery injury that stole 18 months. He survived a coma. He lost friends. He was confused with a dead man. He is alive. He is still here. But at what cost? His career is remembered as one of the greatest in Scottish football. 7 league titles, 5 Scottish Cups, 62 caps for Scotland, 659 appearances for Celtic. These numbers are incredible, but they are also a reminder of what was lost. Every injury was a piece of his career stolen. Every medical crisis was a moment of potential greatness erased. Danny McGrain is not a failure, not even close. He is one of the toughest men to ever play football. He refused to quit. He refused to give in. Even when his body attacked him from the inside, he kept going. But his story is still tragic, not because he failed, but because we will never know what he could have been without the pain, without the needles, without the mystery, without the fear. Was Danny McGrain's career defined more by what he survived or what he lost? That is the question. He lost the 1972 European Cup semi-final. He lost 2 stone at the 1974 World Cup. He lost 18 months to an injury with no name. He lost his explosive speed. He lost friends. He nearly lost his life. Danny McGrain's life is a story of pain wrapped in glory, of talent tested by tragedy, of a man who kept fighting even when his body begged him to stop. He is a hero, but heroes pay a price, and Danny paid more than most. If you made it this far, you are part of a rare group of fans who still care about stories like this. Leave a comment if you think Danny should be remembered as one of the greats, or if the tragedies just left too many what-ifs. Do not forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.